everyone, it's Ryan Fowler here with my good friends Jordan Kurtz, Tim Costello, Inner Game Group live every Saturday. We have a really good one today. I've been meaning to cover this lady for a while. Her name's Anna Runkle. She has a very popular YouTube channel called The Crappy Childhood Fairy. And she struggles with the same thing I used to struggle with, which is called C-PTSD, complex or childhood post-traumatic stress disorder. And so she is with this other therapist who we've covered before, and his name escapes me right now. Tim?
Jerry Wise.
Jerry Wise, that's right. And Jerry I've just seen every now and then, but Anna I've been following for a long time. Well, what Anna is really great at is her videos just absolutely nail every aspect of the struggle that people with childhood or complex, I call it complex PTSD, struggle with. It is. She really, really, really understands the struggle. And because of a lot of people I can learn a lot of marketing techniques from her. But, and she has found a way, probably not the only way, but she's found a way that's absolutely better than conventional psychotherapy to manage the symptoms. But we're going to go in what does it mean to manage these symptoms? How about curing it, fixing it? Should you do both? And meaning, can you partially cure it and manage the rest? What do you do? So it's going to be an interesting discussion today. But before we dive into that, Tim, introduce yourself, and then Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Costello with TimCostelloHypnosis.com. I do what Jordan and Ryan do. We use a process to identify your trauma, clear that trauma, and reprogram you for success. And that's what we do. Jordan, take it away.
Hello. I'm Jordan Kurtz. I'm not in my usual setup. I was at a wedding last night, so I'm at my girlfriend's mom's. But yeah, I really like this clip because one of the things I remember her talking about was she has a book out called Re-Regulated, and the purpose of that book was for survivors of like Ryan was talking about, that childhood PTSD. That's what the C stands for, right?
Yep.
Complex. Yeah. Or complex.
Well, either way, she was talking. I remember one of the examples, and we'll probably get to it, but one of the examples was like she found that she grew up in a commune, and so like she was never really taught how to actually regulate and balance your emotions. I know we talk a lot about that coming from the subconscious, learning to love yourself and unconditional love and that kind of stuff. But then just simple things like, oh, when I'm late, she gave the example of, oh, when I'm late to a meeting, I don't actually have to freak out. Naturally, I can just say, hey, sorry, I'm late, and keep going, rather than, oh, well, there was traffic and I was running out the house late and this thing happened, kind of like having like panic.
Yeah.
Things that she's just never learned how to do. And so, and I can kind of understand, like if you've grown up in kind of like a dysfunctional environment, you may or may not know what is healthy and normal. So I think she's can be really good for that.
Yeah, and Tim first met me when I fixed about half my CPTSD, but still had half there. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I know exactly what that's like. But yeah, go ahead, guys. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, that was pretty much it. So anyway, the rest of the clip we're going to cover today is is between her and Jerry Wise. And I think I kind of like these double therapist interviews because they're almost interviewing I mean, it's technically Jerry's interview of her, but in a way, I think it kind of starts to go back and forth, and you can kind of tell they kind of get excited with each other's content, and one person says they kind of really resonate with. So that's what I found interesting.
Yeah. All right.
So I want to sort of throw a taxonomy out there because we're going to hear these words a lot, especially in their interview, is dysregulation. And of course, they're talking about emotional dysregulation. All that really means is that you respond to your emotions that are generated from the surroundings around you I guess that's a double entendre, right? Surroundings around you. Anyway,
Good job.
trying to get all fancy here. But the idea is that you respond in a non-healthy way. It could be anger, running away, frustration, whatever the case may be.
Blowing up, freaking out.
Yeah, you don't respond in a way that helps anybody around you or even yourself. That's emotional dysregulation. So when Jordan mentions the name of her book, Re-Regulate, it's a way to, and again, we're going to talk a lot about managing that dysregulation because that's what she talks about and ways to cope with it. But the reality is they never really get to the root cause. They just teach you how to manage it, which is important, by the way. Managing those emotional responses, 100% on the money. You need to, act socially correct so that you don't destroy your relationships around you. So dysregulation we'll hear a lot, and that's what it means, is just not responding in a healthy way to your emotions that well up.
And Tim, I would say, and I'm saying this because your wife has already talked about it on the show. I'd say your wife had C-PTSD.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, because things would happen with her, and she would be like messed up the whole day. Like I did an interview with her, and you remember me, the stuff I would freak out at. Tim and I worked together back in 2005 through 2008, and then a few years after that, although you were in another state at that point, and of course work together now again. But you remember coming in at like 11 or noon, and I'm still in bed.
Well, actually, that's when you got up. I was usually there about 9 or 10.
Yeah, exactly. You came in, I'm sleeping another hour or two because of my trauma.
Yep.
I sleep 7 hours a night right now, and I'm fine. I used to sleep 9 hours and be exhausted, and I couldn't fall asleep, and that's why I was sleeping in. I'd be up till 3 a.m. playing video games, and then I'd lay in bed and like for an hour and like just couldn't fall asleep, and then I sleep in till noon or 11. Yeah.
So one of the ways for our audience there, one of the ways to detect whether or not you suffer from C-PTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, excuse me. Thank you. There is an exam out there called the ACEs exam, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And this is put out by the CDC. It's replicated on probably 100 websites out there from everybody that wants you to take it and buy their service. But it's out there and you can take it for free. The interesting thing is when I go through this ACEs for Carrie, she only has one of those. And that was having a parent that used alcohol. So you would not think that she would have subject to the C-PTSD, but what she did get was neglected or abused emotionally and verbally.
Narcissistically abused.
Yeah, no physical stuff, just, constant doubting, constant self-worth issues, so on and so forth. So she didn't have any drugs in the home. There were no divorces. There were no mixed marriages. All of the things that would lead you. Nobody in prison, nobody in jail, nobody got arrested. But it was that constant narcissistic abuse from right past the period of, oh, isn't she cute, to now we got to control her.
Yeah, and the ACEs test, it's a pretty old test.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, mainstream psychology has come to accept that there are covert types of abuse that are every bit as damaging.
Yes.
And in some ways more damaging because there's a lot more confusion. Like if someone beats you every day, it will really mess you up. But at the same time, it's pretty easy to understand as an adult, at least cognitively, that yes, that was abuse. Yes, I didn't deserve that. And again, that's not minimizing the effects of the abuse, but with narcissistic abuse, where it's just constant, insidious, covert ways to make you worthless, constant acts of microterrorism and covert psychological warfare against you multiple times a day, every day. That's what I went through. And, to some degree, your wife and, it's on a matter of degrees. Sometimes it can be very severe. It can be mild. Everything's on a spectrum. But you may grow up thinking you had a normal childhood, and yet you're just totally screwed up, just totally struggling. And then you're like, what's wrong with me? And you don't even know you were abused. And I have people saying, I thought my childhood was pretty good, but here I am, a hardcore addict. And I'm doing all this other stuff. And then they come to me and they're like, oh, holy crap. I had a very abusive childhood, but it was covert.
So the interesting thing about Carrie's environment when I met her is I literally arrived in the lap of luxury.
Yeah, outwardly they look perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, her dad was a good earner and he did very well, sold their business, made a lot of money, went on to make, back in the 80s, $300,000 a year. So he was doing very well, belonged to a big golf club. I mean, we're talking, I never had filet mignon with béarnaise sauce till I met Carrie and went to the club. I didn't even know what that was. I wasn't sure. And I had no Wikipedia to look up what a filet was. But when you walked into the home, there were artist paintings on the wall, these oil paintings with the fancy gold gilt-edged kind of frames. Yeah. And each one had their own little light with a cord that went down to the plug. And, big dining room table with all the crystal. And I mean, I walked in there going, man alive. Yeah. I just walked into lifestyles of the rich and famous. But I learned later that and her and me and her mom did not get along very well. And I didn't know why. Yeah. Because I didn't know back then what I know now. I just knew that I wasn't going to put up with what I now know as gaslighting. I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't crazy. Right. So it's interesting that out of this very, very wealthy environment comes out this terrorized little girl. Yeah. So C-PTSD hits everybody. Jordan, he's probably got his things that he could talk about that he grew up with that Ryan's helped him with, and he's helped himself immensely after that. So it's an interesting world, how variable it is.
Yeah. So Jerry, and to his credit, Jerry Weiss talks about narcissistic abuse in the podcast we're going to go through. First off, welcome to the show, everyone. Zora Mina, the new next, Mike Harton, everyone else who's watching today. Thank you for watching.
Carrie.
And Carrie watching. Carrie's watching. Great. So I guess we'll go ahead and I think we'll start.
I can add one more thing if you want, Ryan.
Okay, yeah, go
you
for
bet.
That was the examples you guys have been given about the covert stuff, and that's not physically abusive. And I think that back in perhaps the 90s, they didn't. Again, I think this narcissism stuff is sort of new. They're trying to understand like how these things affect people. I'll give you an example. Like my mom would tell me things like when I'd be frustrated with her or angry at her for something in the divorce, she'd tell me things like, oh, well, if you go to bed angry, you might not wake up in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Stupid shit like that. Or hey, or my brother real quick, or my brother would, I think he was having some issues and she was like, you better be nice to your brother. I prefer not, I'll be YouTube friendly, self-delete.
Horrible
so
things like that.
As a middle schooler, and I'm thinking, and like at the time, you don't realize it's small things like that you don't really realize at the time are slowly building up on you. And then you go, why do I have such a negative association being around this person? Yeah. You're like, oh, maybe it's because they're, and I looked this up last night because it turns out there's apparently like 4 different subtypes of borderline. And I think what she is some shit. I forget the term, something like they can appear very high functioning in person, but like behind the scenes, they're super like fear of abandonment, very low self-esteem. So I definitely relate to that. Like, in public, everything seems fine. They seem great. They're hosting parties. They're, part of the community, all that. But, behind the scenes, they can be quite terrorizing.
Yeah.
Carrie says they're vicious.
A lot of overlap between that and narcissism as well.
By the way,
behind the scenes, very, very, very.
If you want to see a tremendous example of this. Watch the Donna Adelson trial in Tallahassee, Florida, when they're reading the verdict to her.
What happened?
Donna Adelson is a mother, probably 60-something years old now, has a number of children, and one of those children married her daughter. One of her daughters, Wendy, married this guy named Dan Markell. They had 2 children. They were approaching a divorce, and they were fighting over the children. And long story short, Donna got her son, Charlie, and by the way, these kids were gaslit from day one.
Yeah.
Got the son, Charlie, to find someone to kill Dan, the son-in-law.
Good.
This is back in 2012, 2013 kind of thing. So by 2014, this girl that he was having relations with had 2 babies from another guy. So she contacts that guy and his buddy to go kill Dan Markell. So as we've gone through the prosecution over these years, they've gotten the 2 guys they killed. They got the girl. They got the 2 guys to kill. They got the son. And now they just got the mother this week. And I think the daughter's coming up. But if you want to see something remarkable, watch the verdict in her trial, which just happened, I think, Friday.
Okay.
Thursday afternoon. And there's even some body language experts already analyzed this thing, how emotionally shut down she is, and how everything that she did in reaction to the verdict was for someone else to feel bad about what they did to her.
Yeah. Well,
it is. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of narcissism right in that side woman.
Narcissists do that to such a degree, for sure. And we don't know if she's MPD or it's a mix of something else. Maybe she's a sociopath. Maybe it's BPD. But I will say,
she was emotionally dysregulated for about 30 or 40 minutes. Never shed a tear.
Wow.
It was all outward projection. I want you to feel what you did to me. It was amazing.
Yeah, and why that is so damaging, and Jordan, going back to what you said about your mom making these horrible comments, if someone says that to me as an adult, I'm just like, wow, this person's nuts, right? And then you just walk away and no harm done. But when it's a mother saying it to their children are predisposed to believe their mother.
Yep.
Children and father. Children, now maybe at a later age, children don't do this, but at a younger age, all children idealize their parents. We are physiologically programmed to, because we need our parents to be capable, wise, strong, so that they can take care of us. And we need to feel that they want us, love us, value us, so we feel they will take care of us. Those 2 things. And because we need them to be strong, so we feel, okay, they're able to take care of me, therefore I'm safe. Because as children, we instinctively know, if my parents don't take care of me, I am screwed. I'm 2 years old. I can't get food. I can't get shelter. There's all these monsters everywhere, in the big bad world. I need my parents, otherwise I'll die. And in ancient times, that is true, or even if no one takes care of you and you're 2 now, you'll starve to death. I know that's morbid, but that's the truth.
Yep.
So children, instinctively, kind of deep down, subconsciously, instinctively know this. And so we idealize our parents because it's like, okay, they're awesome. They're amazing. Therefore I'm safe because they're able to take care of me. And so we are predisposed to really take to heart stuff they tell us because they're ideal. So of course, what they tell us, we're predisposed to learn from them. Because as babies, or young children, we don't know anything. Right. We need someone to teach us, so we're predisposed to look to our parents for that. And when your parents tell you stuff like when you're 5 or 12 or, 3, if you do this or that, you may end up self-deleting or not waking up in the morning. As an adult, you're like, this person's nuts. As a child, you are now predisposed to internalize that and actually believe it and carry that with you the rest of your life. And, you know, again, things are on a spectrum. I had one client who said by age 6, I knew my mom was nuts. And I didn't believe anything she said after that. Most kids, if their parents are abusive, they don't figure it out until later.
Well, they also,
and by age 8, 75% of your core beliefs are in you.
They also, for a lot of kids, like for Carrie's parents, they couch it all in quote love unquote.
That's
right?
exactly what my
Care,
mom did.
the covert
just trying
nature.
to help you out. It's tough love.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just preparing you for the world.
That's
you know,
right.
I'm making you feel
I know
like
better. Yeah.
Yeah, by making you feel worthless, I'm preparing you for a tough world. It's like, no, you're not. But you're lying to me and selling that to me. And as a kid, you believe it. Usually,
I looked up the subtypes of borderline. I have it on my phone here, so I'm going to read this off. The discouraged borderline. That's discouraged borderline.
Mm-hmm.
The discouraged borderline subtype is characterized by avoidant, depressive, and dependent features, with individuals often appearing humble, submissive, and loyal, while feeling vulnerable, hopeless, and powerless. The impulsive borderline subtype includes histrionic or antisocial features marked by capricious, superficial, and frenetic behavior with a fear of loss to agitation and irritability. And I'm like, as I'm reading that off last night, I'm like, yep.
Yeah. Well, these people have C-PTSD too.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Narcissist, BPT, whatever, and their toxic coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms that lead them to damage everyone around them is how they regulate their C-PTSD.
Yeah.
They're all traumatized. That's how they deal with it. Unfortunately, it's very destructive, their mechanisms for regulating themselves. And they of course they have many times where they cannot regulate themselves. You know, they keep it together in public, but they can't keep it together 24/7. They, go in private, and then it's a whole different story. Anyways, so let's go ahead and start the clip. You guys, I'm going to start at the 45-second mark just because, like you guys said, it's dense. This might be a two-parter as well. You guys have anything to set this up or comment before we?
No, we talked about, again, they're both therapists. Or is she technically a therapist, or is she like us? She's kind of
just learn
more
but
of a coach.
She found a method that works. I'm sure she has the education level of a therapist, but she's not licensed or she's self-taught. I mean, we've had some professional training, but I've been self-taught quite a bit. So she's like that, although maybe she's had like a little pro training. I don't know. Problem with universities is they're stuck in 60-year-old techniques. And so it's like, well, how useful is it? But it's a good I think if you have a university psychology degree or master's that there's a lot of useful stuff. They just don't embrace the cutting edge stuff yet. Maybe in another 20 years they will. Who knows? All right. So here we go. Here's Anna Runkle on the right, Crappy Childhood Fairy, Jerry Wise on the left. And we'll just start diving in. Oh. I'm going to try it at 1 1/4.
I feel like we're old friends.
Mm-hmm. I know so many of
little volume.
The YouTube tells you who your fans watch, and you're always like right there in the list. So
that's the highest it's going. Can you hear it well enough?
Not really too well. How about you, Jordan?
A lot of them there.
And they don't fall asleep.
It's a little low. I'm not sure.
You want to pull it up on your end, Tim?
I can't do anything with that. You guys don't give me that offer.
Are you able to? You can't, Jordan. Is it tolerable at least?
I can't hear it.
I'm not playing it.
Or you can't hear it. You can't hear it at all, Tim?
I can hear just tiny little bit.
They binge on my videos. I'm going, oh my gosh.
It is a little low. It might be the recording.
Chat, is it too low? I heard it just fine. It might be your. I don't know.
It might be you, Tim, because it's a
I
little
got plenty
low
of volume. You guys are loud and clear.
Huh? Strange. Okay.
Ryan, Ryan, you can increase the volume of. I don't know what web browser you're using, but you can, if you go to volume settings, you can increase just the volume for Chrome or whatever you're using.
I don't know how to do that.
Right click on. You have Windows.
I have the volume slider. Actually, I have another volumes. No, I'm on 100% for everything. Let's play it and have our audience chime in if it's too low. Okay.
You're gonna listen to
Here we go.
me that much. I don't know how you do it, but it's a blessing that they do, and it's a help.
It is a little low.
It's such a joy to have you. Actually, I have read your first book, Re-Regulated. I loved it. I love it. I've got underlined. Oh, please! I printed it off, and I'm glad you have the book right up there. And by Hay House Publishing. And but you can get it on Amazon, and we can put a link down there to your book. I really think folks who have struggled with
Ryan,
symptoms,
even if you're at 100 on your computer, you can still be low. Right click on your sound mixer, on your next to the clock, on the Windows. Open right click on it and do open volume mixer.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And right click.
Check your Chrome volume.
Everything's at max, man.
Your browser's at max?
I don't know how to adjust. It says Google Chrome's at max.
Yeah.
System sound, speakers, everything's 100%. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've
got it shared. Just let me present and you can do it.
What's that?
I've got it shared. Let me present and it'll pop up.
Okay. How do I let you?
I don't know.
There's another add to stage. You have another Tim Costello. You want to try that?
No, I don't have another one.
All right. Let me click on you and see if it.
Can you see me sharing it at the bottom there?
I just see two of you and one's off stage, one's on.
Yeah, put the one that's off stage, share it or something.
I can add it. It doesn't let me. Okay, hold on. Stop sharing. See, now there
you go.
All right, let's try it.
With you, I feel like we're old friends.
I know so many of my fans watch you. The YouTube tells you who your fans watch, and you're always like right there in the list. So we have a lot of alignment.
Okay, let's go.
Fall asleep, and they don't fall asleep during my videos. I've had people say they binge on my videos, and I'm going, oh my gosh, you're gonna listen to me that much? I don't know how you do it, but it's a blessing that they do, and it's a help. It's such a joy to have you. Actually, I have read your first book, Re-Regulated. I loved it. I love it. I've got underlined. Oh, please! I printed it off, and I'm glad you have the book right up there. And by Hay House Publishing. And but you can get it on Amazon, and we can put a link down there to your book. I really think folks who have struggled with symptoms of childhood PTSD could find some relief in her work. And I wanted to have her come on so we could have a talk together and talk about the things she is doing. And I might just ask you, first of all, why are you doing this? How did you start doing this? Why are you going through all the trouble? Because I know how much trouble it is for me to do all this. Why are you going through all the trouble to do this? YouTube, courses, book.
I'm so grateful it turned out this way. I'm somebody who has complex PTSD. I have it pretty bad. And by the time I was 30, it was almost going to kill me. I wasn't able to get help in traditional therapy. I was really struggling to get along with people and express myself without lashing out. I love people, but I would say things that were hurtful to them every time I had negative emotions. There just was a poor filter there, and it was getting worse, not better, as I was maturing. And it came to a head when I had something bad happen. I was attacked on the street randomly. And it sort of kicked off actual PTSD for, like present time PTSD. And I learned later how that can be like a portal opening for childhood trauma to get out of the bag too. But at the time it happened in the 1994, they didn't call what was going on with me PTSD, and they didn't know about. They were helping me with like childhood trauma, like they were talking more about like my mom's alcoholism. But in those days, it was like you just went and talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. We talked about my mom. It was endlessly interesting, and not surprisingly, I did not recover from trauma, and in fact, talking about it would make it worse for me. So that's where I was like hitting the end of the rope. I thought I couldn't go on, and then I found something that helped out of the blue.
And I'm glad you did. And many people, thousands of people, I'm sure, are very happy that you did, because you offer that. And again, you're offering your own personal experience and opinions and beliefs.
So if you want to talk about that,
have helped you.
So just real quick, I think that story relates very similar to yours, Ryan, where like you're in that talk therapy, you're kind of just rehashing things over and over again, and it's not helping. And they don't have this.
50% for me over 15 years. It took forever.
Yeah, 15 years, right?
Yeah. So Tim met me after I fixed pretty much all I could with talk therapy. And so I was I fixed about 60% of my depression, 10-20% of my rage was gone. There was still a massive amount there. I don't know if you ever saw that, Tim. I tried to hide it. And just tons of anxiety. I didn't fix any anxiety. And there was still a big chunk of depression, but I was better by that. Tim met me in 2005. And then at that point, actually, I started therapy probably in let me think about it. Probably 1995. So I had done about 10 years of therapy, and I did a little more on and off over the next 5 years. So when I was at my worst, I daily felt like I was in hell. That's the only way to put it. I just like if you haven't felt that way, you wouldn't know what it feels like. You just have no frame of reference at all for the capacity to feel that much pain. So I was just going through life. And there were sometimes it was a little better. And I was just, there were times I was maybe just mildly to moderately depressed instead of pits of hell. But I had long periods where I was just in hell, and people noticed, and so when I was at my severest, I was probably about where she was. I mean, in very broad, rough terms. But the difference was she didn't respond at all to normal therapy. And that's the thing is conventional psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, it helps about half the people. The other half, it doesn't help at all. So I was in the half that it helped somewhat. She was in the half where it didn't do anything for her. So she's stuck in that hell. And the whole reason she has a show today is she found a method that did help her.
So here's my observation of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
When we met, I thought, 1, you were a nice guy. 2, I thought you played a lot of video games and just stayed up late and slept in. I never saw the rage or anger.
Yeah, I did that.
I saw some excitement that, might have been, looking back, might have been a little bit of anger towards certain things, that kind of stuff, but not towards me or anything like that. You loved your little dog. And when you wanted to sleep in and I'd arrive, hey, would you take my dog for a walk? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? So I'd take Bourbon for a walk and come back. And, by noon, 1 o'clock, you'd probably be up and running. And I just thought back then, not knowing what I know now, that you simply stayed up all night playing video games and you spent all afternoon into the evening doing the intellectual work. So I very much observed the intellectual side of you and the cognitive processing side, but didn't know to recognize the depression, the rage, the anger, and whatever else you might have been dealing with. I just didn't have a clue. I just thought that was Ryan's mode.
Yeah. But sometimes I would get upset at little things. Like, remember you threw half my pizza away? You thought it was just expired. and I
Me?
freaked
I
out.
don't throw pizza away. What are you talking about?
No, I had half a pizza. I ate half. The other half, I think I put it in the fridge. Maybe I left it out, but you threw it away. You thought it was just no good anymore, and I
That
like
could
flipped
be.
out over that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Do you remember, like, I'm supposed to go on the roof and set up the swamp cooler, which is not difficult to do. I was freaking out about that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But hey,
So-
if you're afraid of heights, you're afraid of heights. It's no big deal. I just thought that was like a normal phobia.
No, that was anything new that I wasn't used to doing caused a lot of fear.
Terrifying, huh?
Yeah. So it wasn't a fear. I actually wasn't afraid of heights, maybe a tiny bit. I was afraid of doing something I hadn't done before.
And we got up there 30 minutes later, we were done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was harder to get up there than it was to do the job.
Yeah. It was doing the job that scared me, not getting up there.
Gotcha. Understand.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll keep going.
Okay.
I do talk about that, my experience, but what's been so powerful is that the research came out explaining to me what is complex PTSD and what's it doing inside the nervous system and the brain and what is dysregulation. Like that stuff just sort of hit the world about 10, 11 years ago. And I picked up the book by Bessel van der Kolk and then the one by Pete Walker. And it blew my mind. Like I knew that something was wrong with me. I had been using the techniques that helped me for 20 years and they were helping, but I just thought I was some weirdo who couldn't cope.
I want to comment on that right there.
Yeah, I got a real quick one too. You go first.
She said something was wrong with her. Actually, other than the trauma, her brain was working very efficiently, trying to protect her.
Yeah.
So there was actually nothing wrong with her, right? She didn't have a disease. She didn't have a malformation of the brain or something like that from any evidence that we can see here. Her brain was working 100% correct based upon all the information that it brought in for the previous 30 years of her life, mostly in childhood. And she was reacting to those programs.
Yeah. Physiologically, her brain was fine.
Right.
Yeah. But it's childhood abuse and deep subconscious beliefs learned as a result of that trauma that caused her to struggle. One other thing I want to point out is she says complex PTSD has only been known for 10 or 11 years. However, neuroscience, probably 22 years ago, figured out how to fix it. They didn't know it was a thing, but the method to fix it, they actually figured out. And most therapists have still not adopted that. And that is, we'll have to do a show just on memory reconsolidation, predictive error mismatch, but they actually found the way to rewire beliefs in your brain that are traumatic and rewire them and get rid of the trauma. Neuroscience knew that late 1990s, early 2000s, they knew that.
Yeah.
But this type of trauma wasn't given a label till 10 or 11 years ago.
Correct.
They called it other things. They didn't know the real root cause of C-PTSD and they see all the symptoms. They didn't know what was really going on. Yeah.
Anything, Jordan?
The only thing I wanted to come up before was she still identifies, she says, I have C-PTSD versus Ryan doesn't say that anymore. He speaks about it in the past tense.
Yeah.
Versus she's still struggling with it. And so I think again, I'm all, if it helps people, it helps people. I'm always pro anything that helps people, but I'm also curious if she ever, if we ever get in contact with her one day in the future, if she's hey, I realized I could actually speak about that in the past tense as opposed to, I think she'll describe her methods later, but
yeah. One thing I want to point out is, I have a guy who's helping with marketing, and so he told me to set up a Trustpilot account and invite my clients to post reviews. I think I got 13 up. For anyone who's curious, go to trustpilot.com, type in RyanFowlerSOS.com. That's, it's the same thing as the name of my YouTube channel. and read my reviews and read what the client's saying. And all the clients are saying he fixed the trauma. He fixed the trauma. It's transformative. He changed my life. That's the difference, is she's managing and regulating. And I think to a point she has healed her trauma. I think, but if you watch this interview, she's talking about if she doesn't regulate it, she will fall apart. Even 31, and she says this is 31 years later. So she's had this for she's been aware of it and been struggling for over 31 years, been using these methods to regulate her trauma for 31 years, and the trauma is still there. I have C-PTSD. That's what she says in this interview. I think you need to learn how to manage stuff, because even when you're emotionally healthy, you can still get angry. You can still get anxious. You can still have days when you're down, when a lot of stuff is going wrong. And in that situation, managing stuff, managing these emotions is very important. Talking to a friend, writing it out, reframing, it's all important. And also, even if you rewire a lot of your trauma out, you still may have some in you you're just not aware of yet. It's kind of, we become aware of our trauma and then we rewire it and then it's gone. And then down the road, you're like, I got some extra trauma here, So her techniques, I advise anyone to learn her techniques and use it, but it's management, is not fixing.
Correct. Ready to roll?
Yeah.
And then finally, there was a word for what was wrong with me. And it was that it's called complex PTSD. And I was very dysregulated. So as soon as I learned my daily practice 30 years ago, I was sharing it with people. I shared it with hundreds of people face to face. When I found out there was a name for it, I started a blog, and then that led to a YouTube channel when I connected it with this idea. So I'm fascinated by all the research on trauma and complex PTSD and what happens. And now we're learning so much about what goes on in the brain that when you have this and then you find out, like, it's a thing, it's not in your mind, it's in your brain. I think Bessel van der Kolk put it that way.
Right.
Not in your mind, it's in your brain. It's just like this huge relief. This big burden comes off. You're not crazy. It's a thing.
So I didn't get that at first. It's not in your mind, it's in your brain. That would lead me to believe that she thinks it's somewhat physiological, because I would think just the opposite. It's not in her brain, it's in her mind, her subconscious programming and core beliefs. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, later on, she talks about, she kind of hints at we have a soul.
Correct.
We have a spiritual essence to us. I think that's what she's referring to, but I'm not sure.
I took that as she's sort of separating herself out from her trauma. So she's like, it's not in my mind, it's just in my brain, meaning it's not really who I am. It's just something that's almost like happening to me. It's a response. No, and maybe she's being a little fast and loose with the terms mind and brain, but I took that like a separation between, like, I've used this analogy before, like a computer virus.
Yeah.
It's not, the computer will run, normal and healthy and stable, but it just because you have a computer virus doesn't mean the whole computer's broken. Doesn't mean it's just
the computer's working fine,
right,
but it has a virus.
Right. And I
the hardware works fine.
Right. And that's kind of how I interpreted what she was saying.
Yeah, I sort of get what she was saying or wanted to say, but when she said it's her brain, or it's in her mind, not her brain, or it's in her brain, not her mind, I would almost think that she's using that word brain as part of the subconscious programming more than the physiological structure of the brain.
I think brain is less personal. It's like when you say mind, it feels more personalized to you, like my mind. But when you're saying your brain, it's a little less detached from yourself. Like
that
it's just, and so maybe that's how she's thinking about it too.
Because if you have a brain
my
injury,
feeling is they're separate but intertwined. There's so much overlap.
Yeah.
If you have a brain injury, your brain, your physiological brain is injured physically. Something's wrong. Yeah. Concussion, puncture, whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I think what she means to say is she can't control the way it's coming, but in her mind, she knows how to deal with it.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, let's keep going.
Yep.
And when I put it out on YouTube and said, this is how I experience it, I mean, first a dozen and then hundreds, and now like nearly 1 million people, they just echo back. They're like, I have that too. No one's ever described it before. And it's this great feeling to find out that not only are your symptoms normal for what you went through, but now you have a tribe. You have people who get it.
I was very impressed with how you put the research and footnotes in your book. And you were saying, these are the things I found. You can read these too. You know, this is the research, and here are the articles, and here are the, you know, I'm not just pulling this out of the clouds here. You know, there's really some hard evidence about this, and I want to share that with you. And I appreciated that part of the book, because a lot of people don't do that, not document like you do. And I'm glad. I thought it was a real help to me, and I think it would be a help to either other coaches or therapists or even professionals to have that.
About 15% of my audience are licensed professionals. They're like, you know, emergency room doctors, therapists, psychiatrists, and they're big fans. They often prescribe my videos and my courses to their patients. But I've queried them, and 93% of them first come for themselves. Like, you can be a therapist and never have found help for your trauma symptoms.
Absolutely.
We just didn't know. Nobody knew. And when a lot of people were going to school, this wasn't in the curriculum. It's still not always in the curriculum, but about what trauma can do to people and how it changes how to interact with them. And it's just such a delight. I just see these, you know, leading people now online teaching, you know, the neurobiology of trauma and attachment. And, you know, it's just this burgeoning science that helps explain what's going on. But science isn't enough. You know, my philosophy is we need, you know, you could have all the science in the world. You could have a great therapist, but what are you going to do? Like right now, when you freak out because somebody honked at you on the freeway and you're having a panic attack over it, like, what are you going to do? So I give practical tips and training to people for how they can re-regulate their nervous system, which first, you got to be re-regulated or you can't do anything. You can't read, you can't really do your job. You can't be present in a conversation. You end up, as I did, I used to have terrible chronic health problems and in and out of the hospital, and just learning how to re-regulate my nervous system, many things cleared up for me. And with good health and with a level head, then I was able to change my life dramatically.
And it shows through in the book. And I think it shows through in your work. And I'm sure there are many people who have benefited already from that. In fact, I just had a client that I did recommend the book to just yesterday, because I think that truly would help her. I know in my own trauma, and I think you wouldn't know this part about me. We had a break-in at our house in late evening when in bed. 3 guys broke in the door with guns, and I was pistol whipped, and I was just ready to fall asleep when this happened, and I was traumatized by this experience. My mother, I was taking care of her, and she comes out, and it was a incredible, a painful experience. And they got robbed, and then they left, and it was younger guys that were on drugs and blah 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 blah. So it was kind of dangerous, because you don't want somebody with drugs having a gun, you know, because they're not going to care until later that there's a problem. And so I really was traumatized by that. And my first thought was, who do I go talk to about this? Who would know about the trauma? And me then having a hard time going to sleep, because every time I'd start to go to sleep, I would hear the door being busted in, you know, kicked in. And just, I know it's difficult to find those kinds of folks. And I wish I would have had your program at that time. I think it would have been really helpful.
It's interesting, because I think so much the idea that what you need to do is talk about it. Obviously you do at some point. You need to talk about your childhood, or if you were the victim of a violent crime like that, there's a time to talk about it. But those days when they thought like you just need to keep talking about it again and again, and not really detecting, like, I don't know, this person's breaking down in the chair, they're crying, they say they're getting worse and worse, like this isn't going anywhere. They also gave me Xanax. The doctor gave me Xanax, and the combination was pushing me towards a very bleak point of view about my future that I did not think I wanted a future, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And that's not uncommon. I mean, it's also a relief to me. It's like, okay, that's something that PTSD does to people, especially when they're forced to keep talking about it. And I needed to have emotional relief and nervous system relief from all that agitation. Like you said, you're just trying to fall asleep. I used to not be able to cross a street for a long time. Anything moving in my left field of view, I would just be like, go to full freak out. And you can't control whether there's movement in your left field of vision. So they looked at, they were like, your CAT scan looks fine, you know, looks good to me. And it was very frustrating. So I thought that I was an unfixable person. And then luckily.
Right there. That is the thing that I hear occasionally from clients after our session, because they thought that they were unfixable. That
yeah, I used to think that.
Yeah, you're born that way. There's nothing you can do about it, so on and so forth. That is now not the truth. It is totally fixable to get rid of the virus out of your brain.
Yeah. I think Anna has fixed some of her trauma.
Absolutely.
But it's very obvious by how she talks. There's still a lot there, but she's able to, how I look at it with her is it's like she's a pressure cooker. She knows how to release the pressure now instead of it just building and building and then causing all sorts of problems because the pressure's too high, you know, whether it blows up or, you know, whatever. So,
if you watch, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, she found a technique that works. Like I said, I did cognitive behavioral therapy, probably 100 sessions on and off over 15 years. Most of it was done by the time Tim met me, but I did some after you met me as well. The last few years did not help at all, but it did fix probably about half my trauma. Maybe not quite if you consider everything, but somewhere around there, 40-50%. I think her methods, the stuff she was doing, the normal talk therapy didn't work for her. She found something that did. I think she's fixed some of her trauma. The rest she's just managing, and there's still a lot there. And if you watch this whole interview, she talks about if she doesn't keep doing this, she will fall apart. She tells you about it. Even now, after 31 years of doing this. Now, she said something is interesting, but I just slipped my mind.
Just now?
Yeah.
I'll go back a little bit.
All right.
Well, I can
go ahead, Jordan.
I have a comment. Notice I'm also watching her body language as she's interacting with Jerry. Like Jerry will give her a compliment or something and she'll be happy, but then her face, like, she'll be happy temporarily, but then her face, like, immediately, like, she, like, notice, like, the little micro expressions of her like mouth, like she gets kind of back to serious mode, like she almost, like, the moment passes. And so I'm noticing little small stuff like that where she's still, like, not even in this interview with another, like, you know, you know, what would you call it, like
Somewhat of a colleague.
Yeah, a colleague, you know, and it's not someone who's an adversary, you know, a fellow, you know, therapist, or I guess she's not a therapist, but, you know, they're not necessarily adversaries, but she still has that kind of tense attitude, even in this, you know, fairly positive interview, you know. And so, you know, clearly there's still some of that lingering.
To your point, Jordan, I think she enjoys the external validation. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
And then she immediately goes back into her normal mode because the validation only lasts for a second. And then as that wears off, she's back into seriously thinking about the topic. And there's no doubt that even during this interview, she's recalling a lot of trauma.
Yeah. If you watch her videos, and her videos are very good, and I believe the reason she became so popular is because she really describes the struggle very well, and a lot of people resonate with it when she talks in her videos. They're like, oh my goodness, that's me. I feel exactly that way. Here's someone who finally understands how I feel. But I believe the reason she is able to describe the struggles so well is because she still experiences them. Yes. Now, me, I have felt the struggle. I know what it's like to truly suffer, but I don't feel that way anymore. And in a way, it's an advantage that I know what it felt like, but it's not as much as an advantage because I no longer feel that. She does. So she's just able to talk about the struggle in greater detail because I'm going off of what it used to feel like. She's experiencing it right now. And if you watch her videos, she just really nails the struggles of C-PTSD because she still deals with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready to roll?
Yeah.
I gotta grab a Kleenex. I'll be right back.
You bet. Brian, I just rewound a little bit so she might come up with the thing you were thinking about.
Okay, cool.
Across a street for a long time. Anything moving in my left field of view, I would just be like, go to full freak out. And you can't control whether there's movement in your left field of vision. So they looked at, they were like, your CAT scan looks fine, looks good to me. And it was very frustrating. So I thought that I was an unfixable person. And then luckily, what I found out helped me turned out to be something that costs nothing. It's easy. Anyone can do it. And it has to do with a very specific format for writing your fearful, resentful thoughts on paper and asking them to be removed. It was shown to me by a woman who is sober in AA. And though I'm not an alcoholic, I didn't go to AA. When I told her that I felt like I had to end my life, she said, well, do you want to try this thing that I did when I felt that way? So I tried it. And like nothing else, I felt better. I wasn't fixed, but I felt ease.
But you felt ease.
I felt peaceful enough that I could go to sleep when I was just utterly freaked out. And I woke up and I wanted to do it again. And that was 31 years ago. I've just been doing it ever since.
So I would believe that writing this down, how you're feeling, maybe what caused it or what triggered you or something like that, is a very therapeutic event for you confronting very intellectually what's bothering you.
Yeah.
You could sit around and think about it all day long, but when you start writing it down, there's a different comprehension coming. And I think by writing that down and asking
and
that,
then looking at it and then reading it, seeing it in the outside world. We talk about that. I tell my clients, because I teach my clients some mindset stuff to help manage as well. And I'm like, don't think this, say it or write it down.
Right.
It has a stronger impact on your brain when you can observe what you observe your thoughts in the outside world on paper or verbally hearing it go into your ears. It has a more powerful effect on your brain than just thinking it. It does. Go ahead.
Well, that's the descriptive word list right there.
Yes.
Yeah, we do something called. Go ahead. Tell them about the descriptive word list and how that works, Jordan.
Well, I thought it was Tim.
Or Tim.
Go ahead, Jordan, I'll jump back in. It'll follow well.
All right, sure. So the descriptive word list is basically a large. Well, it is what it sounds like. It's a word. It's a list of words that describe your feelings, and so there's 100 or so.
Traumatic feelings. Trauma-based feelings. Yeah.
Right. And so they're basically categorized into 5 groups of, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for others, or I don't belong. I can't get what I want. I have anger and resentment towards myself or others, and I don't feel safe. And so basically what and what Ryan and I and Tim have our clients do is, whenever they start to feel something strong and they're like, hey, this doesn't feel good. The first thing I tell them is, okay, we'll pull out the descriptive word list and start highlighting the words that seem to resonate with how you're feeling on there, whether it's I feel ashamed or hopeless and things are going to fall apart. I feel angry. And so it kind of helps. Really what we're doing is we're mapping out this feeling so that you can start to have the language to describe what it is really clearly. And then and
we have them write out a paragraph.
Right. Using those words, we then start to narrow down what exactly this underlying subconscious, or we call them I call them negative subconscious programs, but this underlying
core belief, different words.
Right.
Yeah.
We start to really hone in on what exactly this underlying subconscious program is. And so I find it's just super useful because, you read each word and you're like, does this resonate or not? And then there's going to be words that just pop out immediately. You read it, and the second you read it, you're like, yep, that's it. You don't even have to. If you're thinking about whether or not it applies, you skip it. But there'll be a handful that you're just like, oh yeah, immediately.
That's me. And then I feel this way because, and then you just get all the detail out on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason this works, and I'm not only talking about our method, but her method, is we have all these subconscious beliefs form in childhood and adolescence. We observe the world as kids and babies and children, and things happen, and we then draw conclusions as to what those things mean. Correctly or incorrectly, we draw conclusions. This thing happens, it means this. You know, I failed, it means I'm a failure. That's a very common traumatic belief people have. It's learned in childhood, it gets in your subconscious, and it just lodges there and stays there the rest of your life most of the time unless you get it out. The reason she still struggles and still has C-PTSD because she has a ton of painful beliefs in her that she hasn't rewired out, but she knows how to manage them. So what happens as adults is we go through the world. Our subconscious mind is designed to observe the outside world, look for any patterns that are a match for belief in us, and if it's the pattern or event or something we observe in the outside world matches the belief in us in our subconscious from childhood, the feeling tied to that belief gets triggered. So just thinking something can connect you to these feelings, but it's much more powerful when it's in the outside world because our brain is designed to observe and interpret that according to the beliefs in us. And I do have clients who just write this out and say, I feel better. Now, some feel a lot worse because they're like, oh my goodness, because we brought their trauma to the surface. Now we need to send it away and rewire it out. But I have so many people say, I didn't even know there was something wrong with me. I just knew I was struggling. Just the last 2 weeks, I got all these Trustpilot reviews up, and a common thread is, I didn't know what the issue was. And now I know. But not only that, we rewire it out. And I think the great thing about Anna is she does help people get a lot of awareness about why they struggle. She said 10, 11 years ago, not even the scientists knew what C-PTSD was. So she's really good with the awareness and then managing the symptoms. Well, the third step is get the trauma out, get the awareness, get the trauma out of you, put in really good core beliefs to replace the traumatic ones, and then use these techniques to still manage the ups and downs and difficulties of life. That's ideal. She got 2 out of 3, and she's a really good lady, and God bless her, because what she is teaching is, in my opinion, absolutely more effective than what they teach in the universities. The universities have stagnated. And if you ask researchers and academicians, there's so much corruption and inefficiency and bureaucracy in universities now that a lot of innovation is just flat out stifled. And there's also a lot of research fraud. Universities are just so dysfunctional now. They are, and that's why a lot less people are going. And that's why alternative programs like Anna's and ours are coming to the forefront, because what the universities teach is 50 years old. It's like, come on, guys, get with the program. They don't want to.
And to be fair, our methods are still 50 years old too. I mean, or older, but they nobody knows.
Well, I mean, hypnosis has been around for a long time, but yeah. I would say hypnosis was about 80% of the way there, which is awesome. You could go to Gil Boyne back in the 1970s and get rid of a lot of your trauma, but the methods have evolved and become even more effective with hypnosis. Absolutely. If you understand, you really understand at our level how to rewire the brain, then yeah, you can double or triple or quadruple the effect. Like normal hypnosis works 70-80% of the time. There's a specific reason our stuff works over 90% of the time.
Yeah. I was saying that we're not,
and like, quicker and deeper.
We didn't come up like, this isn't something like you came up with in the last 5 years. Like these are new, like these are well established. Cause like, I feel like there's this reputation with hypnosis, like, oh, it's just some sort of woo-woo magical, like people don't know what it is. It's like, no, there's people have been doing at least many of the pieces of what we've been doing for a long time. We just figured out how to put them together really effectively in the most effective way possible. So
we've combined different disciplines together into something that's like, but you're right. Everything we do is found. It may not all be found in one discipline, but it's like there's a huge chunk of what we do here, and then there's this part from this discipline, IFS, we do. There's this part from memory reconsolidation techniques, neuroscience, et cetera. We put it together, but we didn't invent it. We just put it together in a way no one else has.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay,
Tim,
so
you got anything?
yeah, so the branch I was going on was that Anna is able to write these things down, say them out loud, tell or ask her brain for these things to leave, and then sort of move forward. And she feels better for a while. You can cognitively do this over time. And there is no doubt that over 31 years, she has written some of the same things down that made it effective for her to clear a little bit of that trauma little by little by little.
Yeah.
But it has taken her 31 years to get to this point here, where if she was able to get to her subconscious, identify that trauma, clear the trauma, and reprogram that core belief, she would be light years ahead of where she is now. So
Yeah.
she's doing something good, just not being effective at it. That's all. And again, 100% credit to her and everybody that follows her and does her methods to receive some relief, because through all this terrorization and pain, you deserve relief, because none of this was your choice. It was thrust upon you, and you're just living through the end of the explosion, if you will.
Yeah.
So all in the right direction. No big criticism at all, except that it could be more effective and quick.
Yeah. Now, I would say that even if you have an emotionally healthy psyche, using her techniques to manage the difficulties of life is a great idea.
Absolutely.
And that's because even if you're emotionally healthy, life can still be tough.
Yep.
You can still have a tough time with your emotions, even though your core beliefs are good. Not day to day with little things, but you can have really big challenges. You can have a loved one die. You can lose a job. You could have your spouse divorce you, and now you can't see your kids. You could have someone break in and violently attack you and your family members in your home, like Jerry Wise described.
You could get sideswiped on the highway.
You could go to war and then see a bunch of horrible and do a bunch of horrible things.
Stuff happens, man.
Yeah, stuff happens. So, does what we do make her techniques obsolete? Absolutely not. I think her techniques would be a great supplement to what we do.
Yes.
But it's a supplement. The most important thing you gotta do is fix the trauma and then learn management techniques just to handle the tough spots of life.
We're over an hour. Do you guys want to do a part 2 next week?
Absolutely.
Yeah, part 2 next week, and we'll make a point of getting through more. How many minutes did we get through today? Not much.
13 on the money.
Oh, 13. Okay, well, not terrible, but yeah. Anyways, she talked about how her stuff, you could do it for free. She actually runs training camps. I think she does an 8-week course for $1,600. But once you learn it, yeah, it is free, and good for her for teaching it. If you want to see our techniques and try that out for free and actually get some benefit, actually start rewiring your brain. We have this banner that's been going the whole show at the bottom. Join our community, school.com/RyanFowlerSOS-7231. There is a free trauma clearing course. It's self-hypnosis audios, instruction, the Dive with the 5 worksheet, and descriptive word list. That's on there. That's all free. Go there, try it out, start clearing out your own trauma, fixing stuff, making yourself feel better. And when you're ready, come to us, because, and we will guide you to a curated, guided process of finding trauma, and you can get out stuff you wouldn't be able to get out on your own, and then replace it with unconditional self-love, self-belief in your ability and value. And when you do that, it changes everything. So I invite our audience to do that. Go to the school community, join it free, take the educational materials and also the materials that actually help you rewire your brain. It's there for free. Do you guys have any final comments before we wrap it up?
No, not here.
No. Good.
Anything, Jordan?
Nope,
All right.
no,
So, God bless Anna Runkle. She's a good person, and her management techniques are necessary. They supplement or complement what we do. They don't replace it. But for crying out loud, people need to start fixing stuff, not just managing it. And you can actually fix trauma. So, I'll show one thing real quick because I was very moved by these stories. You know, Trustpilot, I had 21 reviews up. They removed 8 just because they're like, oh, this person had a VPN and we couldn't verify their identity. And it's like, why didn't you tell the person when he's writing the review to have his VPN off? But I still have
nice.
what's that?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? They tell them afterwards, oh, you had a VPN up. We took your thing down. But I would invite our audience, go here, and the new Next and some of our other members, if you haven't posted a review, I would ask you to post a review of others who watch this show who had sessions. These are all 5-star reviews. And I'd invite you to post one if you had experience working with any of us. Tim and Jordan do work with me. And just read it here. They talk about healing stuff, about fixing, transforming. So that's what we do. We heal, we fix, transform. They talk about here, I didn't even know trauma was there. I just knew I was struggling, and now the trauma's gone. So if you've had a session, please go to Trustpilot if you're so inclined. I would very much appreciate it. Trustpilot.com, type in RyanFowlerSOS, click on it, leave a review about your experience. It would really help build trust so more people get better as well if it's been helpful to you. So that's our show for today. You don't just have to manage stuff, although you should learn those techniques, but you can actually eliminate trauma and replace it with these just amazing core beliefs that change lives, transform all day, every day, and then you just take off and have a great life. You can really do that because you really do have the power to do it. You have more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.